one,
Recording in
under God,
progress.
indivisible,
indivisible,
with liberty and justice for all.
for all.
Okay, good evening, everybody. We start our meeting with open forum and announcements. And once again, we have some folks who are retiring from their service for the town, who we would like to acknowledge and recognize tonight. So starting with Peter Mahler. Peter has served on the Conservation Commission for 22 years. It's going to be a little strange looking at the Conservation Commission and not seeing Peter on the commission. John, I know that you served with Peter when you were on Conservation. Some statistics that were provided to me were that during his time on the Conservation Commission, the commission acquired about 1,100 acres of open space. And 300 acres it preserved through conservation restrictions. Peter certainly was instrumental in achieving those goals. He served as vice chair from 2006 to 2016 and chair for 6 years from 2016 to 2022. During his tenure on the commission, he has reviewed more than 730 notices of intent since the Wetlands Protection Act was enacted in 1972. In addition, Peter has served as a member and I believe treasurer of the Friends of East Boston Camp since the establishment of the Friends after the town purchased East Boston camps. So with much gratitude and appreciation, Peter, we thank you for your years of service here in Westford, for all of your support and activities in preserving our open space here in Westford. We wish you well, and we hope that you are not a stranger to the town, and that we will continue to see you around town, and that you will continue to serve in any capacity that you might wish to serve in the future. So thank you very much. And John, go ahead. I'm sure you'd like to say something.
Well, I had the honor and privilege of serving with Peter for 9 of those 22 years with Peter and the gang. And one of the things that Peter brought to the table was an unmatched knowledge of the Wetland Protections Act and our Wetland Protection Bylaw. And he established a decorum in our committee. He was courteous and respectful of everybody that appeared before our commission, even to the point that we actually got some compliments for that, because some people were kind of afraid to come before the Conservation Commission at times. But did a super job, and I wish him well. Proud to serve with him.
Thank you. Okay, let me just make sure there's nobody else who wanted to say anything. Okay. Next whom we'd like to recognize and honor is Dave Hall, who I am told is affectionately known as Sharky by his coworkers and friends. Dave is currently a crew supervisor in the highway department. He started in the Westford Highway Department in 1997 as a truck driver before being promoted to a heavy equipment operator. He held the position of cemetery supervisor from 2003 to 2005 before going back to the highway department as a crew supervisor. Dave, over the years, has organized the highway department's snow and ice manual and helps create the salt and plow routes during storms, for which we all know how good our roads are in Westford during a storm. Most recently, Dave has been assisting the town in maintaining our compliance with our MS4 stormwater permit, and we are grateful for him for this. We appreciate his service to the town for more than 25 years now. He is going to be missed by all of us for his memory, his wit, his sense of humor. and I'm told, although I've never experienced it, his delicious craft beer recommendations. So, Dave, on behalf of the town, we thank you for your years of service here and for all you have done to help maintain our highway department and our roads throughout. And I know that Steve Cronin and Lisa Groves are here, and both would also like to say a few words. So Steve, I'll start with you.
Thank you, Andrea. Yeah, we're all going to miss Dave up at the highway garage. Personally, I'm definitely going to miss his knowledge and his history of the town, and especially his anecdotes about his co-workers. There isn't a job that Dave wouldn't do for us. And although he wouldn't admit it, I think the ones that are the dirtiest are the ones that he enjoyed the most. Whether it was a clogged drain pipe or a culvert, he'd always be the first one into the manhole or into a brook with a flashlight or a camera. So there wasn't anything he wouldn't do, and we're really going to miss him.
Thank you. And Lisa, you're mute.
I think Lisa's going to speak on behalf of Dick.
Oh, all right. And then the last person that we want to recognize tonight and thank is Cemetery Supervisor Richard Nowotchik. Richard or Rick or Dick, I'm sorry, started at the Westford Highway Department also as a truck driver before being promoted to heavy equipment operator. He has worked here in the town for 28 years. After he became a truck driver, he was promoted to a heavy equipment operator. And then in 2005, he became a cemetery supervisor, overseeing the Fairview Cemetery, Hillside Cemetery, Old Pioneer Burying Ground, Pine Grove Cemetery, West Lawn Cemetery, and Wright Cemetery. He has meticulously maintained our town cemeteries. He ensures that they are properly maintained and groomed in time for Memorial Day and Veterans Day. He was instrumental in the recent Pine Grove Cemetery expansion project and also in shepherding green burials in Westford. He is known by our residents in Westford. He will be remembered for the compassion for which he dealt with all of our residents. And so, Dick, again, we thank you on behalf of the town. We are grateful and appreciative of all of your 28 years of service. And Lisa, now I know you wanted to say something.
Yep. So you've kind of covered a lot of it, Andrea, but so Dick, well, we had our cemetery commission meeting this morning and we recognized Dick. And so I'm just going to share some of what was expressed during the commission meeting. So as I've gotten to know Dick over the past 4.5 years, I really can't think of anybody that I'd rather have bury me or my loved ones than Dick. But as I said this morning, now that he's retiring in 2.5 weeks, I'm going to let that one go. For Dick, it's really about the people that he serves. Take, for instance, green burial. Dick was in full support of exploring green burial as an option when some residents requested it several years ago. And I don't know that we'd be offering green burial now if it wasn't for his efforts. He took time of his own to travel to Maine to observe a green burial and learn. He traveled out to Greenfield on a Saturday, again on his own time, to attend a day-long training seminar offered by the organization Green Burial Massachusetts. He devoted many of his Wednesday nights in 2019 to attending our Green Burial Advisory Subcommittee meetings because his input was critical to our discussions. And I mention all of this as a testament to Dick's commitment to the people, because for him, it wasn't necessarily about the environmental benefits of green burial. It was about serving the people who wanted green burial in town, and he went the extra mile to make it happen. Dick has a dignified but approachable way of working with residents and others who come to the cemeteries. Former Veterans Officer Terry Stater, who's currently a cemetery commissioner, recognized and thanked Dick for all he's done over the years working with veterans and their families, and said he's learned a lot by watching Dick in this role. And the commission, has received many testimonials from residents saying how much they've appreciated Dick's work, Dick's support, whether navigating the pre-purchase of a burial lot for themselves or their loved ones, arranging or attending a loved one's burial service, or enjoying the well-maintained cemetery grounds. When people interact with Dick, it's often during times of grief and vulnerability. Dick is kind, Dick is gentle, and he's grounded and present. And how about that laugh? If you've only spoken with him once, you know what I mean about that laugh. Interactions with Dick make a difference. Dick, you leave big shoes to fill and you will be missed. Congrats on your retirement. Enjoy the grandkids and the road trips, and don't raise your hand too much. Thank you.
Thank you. And thank you again, to all of you who have served the town for more than 20 years. All right, we are at our 7:05 p.m. item, which is a continued public hearing. It is a request to amend Mass General Law, Chapter 148, Section 13, license to store flammables, combustibles, or explosives on land and buildings or structures at Westford Mobile, 185 Littleton Road, to convert one tank from an 8,000-gallon gasoline Class 1 to an 8,000-gallon diesel Class 2. So
I do not see them online, Andrea.
okay, do they know do we expect them?
Yes, they were all notified, so they should be here.
Okay. Eric, Brett Vignali is here and he's here to speak to this. So can you unmute him? And then Brett, when Eric unmutes you, if you unmute yourself, then you'll be able to speak with us. Hi.
Hi,
Brett?
good evening. How are you?
Good.
Good. Yes, so we, Global Partners, we would like to convert one of the regular tanks at a location in 185 Littleton Road to offer diesel. So that's, we had the plans drawn up and we submit them to Lieutenant Parsons for his review and to give to the state for their review.
And has the state approved this yet? And has Lieutenant Parsons signed off on it?
He has everything that he would need to sign off on it. We've complied with all the asks.
Okay. I guess my question is can we approve this before we get notification from the state that it's approved? Jody or Eric, can somebody tell me sort of the process and how this works? Go ahead, Jody.
My understanding is they're all set and Don Parsons is all set, so you may move forward and approve this.
Okay, thank you. John?
I have a question about the process. How do you convert a gas tank to a diesel tank, and what are the safety precautions that you take?
Sure. So what we would do is we would pump the gasoline out of the tank. We would clean it. And then because gasoline tanks are all manifolded underground, we have to break that manifold and vent that tank separate from the other two. Now that tank system is separate from the other two gasoline tanks. We would get the LEL down on that tank to make it safe when we were doing the work, separating the manifold and piping it.
What do you mean LEL?
It's an explosive level.
Okay.
Is there an inspection process while this is going on, that somebody comes in and inspects and signs off that you're doing this properly?
Yes.
Not
So
that I'm saying you wouldn't do it properly,
no,
but
understood. Yeah. So we Any electrical work, we'll have the town electrical inspector on site. We'll have the, any permits that we pulled, the inspector would be on site to validate that those are tight. And then once the work is done and during the process, we have a third-party underground storage tank compliance testing company on site to either gauge the soil or to perform any testing on those tanks to make sure that they're tight before and after the work.
And are those, do you submit those results to the town so that, you know, we?
Yes.
Okay,
We submit them to the town and to the state.
okay. And and Anita, I see you. I just have one final question. And can you not operate those tanks until you have sort of final sign off from the state and the town after the inspections?
So as long as we have passing test results to submit, we're usually good. But if you know, we need to wait until you are in, you know, have them in your hand, we can do that as well.
Okay, thank you. Anita?
I was just wondering how old the tanks are, or this tank. I know you acquired it in 2010, but how old is the tank itself?
Let me see. Bear with me for 1 minute. See if I have that information. They were installed, they're fiberglass tanks installed in 1988.
What's the lifespan of that tank?
In the state of Massachusetts, there is no lifespan for a tank as long as it's passing its release
steps.
detection. Correct. So,
Okay.
so this tank has continuous statistical leak detection that's performed on it. So it's constantly running a 0.2 gallon per hour test. And then we do a precision test annually.
Okay, do you do that or is it someone else?
Well, we do it's a third party
Yeah.
compliance testing company.
Yeah. Is that report included in our materials?
I would have to see what Atlas submit for us.
Do you know when the last tank test was?
Sure, I can. Where is it? Right here. Results. I'm gonna scroll down. All right.
My parents had a gas station growing up, so I am kind of familiar with the tanks underground, the
Yep.
requirements for the environmental testing.
Understood. Let's see. It looks like we tested. Just navigating my way through our third-party compliance testing company's website to get the results. So I apologize.
No worries.
Search. All right, there we go. Results. All right, so on March 17th, 2022, we performed an EZY3 locator precision tank test.
I'm sorry, could you put that in English for us?
Oh, I'm sorry. So we performed precision tank testing on March 17th of this year.
Okay, Thank you.
You're welcome. So I apologize for the time it took me to get these results here.
That's okay, no worries. Anita,
Thank you.
anything else?
No.
Oh, okay. Anybody else have any questions, comments? Okay. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor? Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Oh, thank you very much. I hope you have a great afternoon.
Yeah, it's evening here.
Oh, evening. Yeah, sorry. Great evening.
That's okay. Okay, we're at our 7:10 PM item, which is a public hearing for a petition for a joint or identical pole location. We have a request from Massachusetts Electric Company, doing business as National Grid and Verizon New England, Inc., to install 4 joint ownership poles, 1684, 1784, 2250, and 2384. Remove 1 joint ownership pole 18 and relocate 1 joint ownership pole 17 on Beaver Brook Road, beginning at a point approximately 0 feet southwest of the center line of the intersection of Weber Road and continuing approximately 350 feet in a southwest direction. Do I have a motion to open the public hearing?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Second.
All those in favor? Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. And then do I have a motion to waive reading of the entire public hearing notice?
So moved.
Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you. Mr. Boucher, do you want to tell us about this project, please?
Sure. Good evening, Dave Boucher, Senior Designer from National Grid, 1101 Turnpike Street, North Andover, Mass. Since you waived reading through it, I will give you a quick synopsis of what we're doing here at Beaver Brook Road. And then I'll break it down to make it simple to try to understand it. There's 4 new poles we're asking for locations for. We're going to remove a pole and relocate a pole. There are 2 drawings that we've provided that are pretty much black and white. The first one will show the southwest part of the project that we're doing, where we're asking to place pole 22-50 and pole 23-84. Yep, that's the one. Yep. Right now, there, right near that 2384, there's a guy wire that goes into a tree. Yeah, right in back of there somewhere. And what we want to do is get that out of the tree. It was probably put there years ago when they came down the road. And what we want to do is place it properly into a pole and take it out of the tree. And the pole across the street is 2250. We need that to actually hold the wires that are going down the road in a more proper way, if you will, to make the angle of going down towards number 23. And it's the best spot to support our wires that are going down the road. Also in that picture is one of the other things, is the removal in the north eastern part. Yep, pole 18 is the removal pole that we're asking for. So that's 3 of the 6 poles that we're talking about. If you want to go to the second drawing, I can explain that. There's the other 3, the 2 17-84 and 16-84 that are on the northwestern part of the road are ones that we're asking to be installed new. Pole 16 will stay as is, but pole 17 will go away temporarily, and that's the 3rd pole, the final pole of all 6 that we're talking about. And this is the one that's going to relocate. Initially, it will be removed, and the reason we're removing it is so that they can get a crane in there and work on the bridge. There's going to be some, big trucks there and doing their thing, and we needed to get that out of the way for them. What this will do, and when everything's said and done, that pole 17 will be relocated approximately 10 feet to the southwest from where it exists now. That's what we're asking for. It's not going to be in the exact same spot when we put it back in, but that is the one that's relocating approximately 10 feet. And the two in the northern part of that road our wires will be moved over to that, so that southern part of Beaverbrook and that area will be clear for the construction workers to do their thing and have their whatever they're using for cranes and whatnot go as high as they can without having any utilities interfering. So that's pretty much the gist of this whole project at Beaverbrook. So.
Okay, thank you. Questions or comments from the board? I just want to make sure, and I have a couple. When is this work planned to happen?
I'm not privy to that. It's not my job, and I'm not sure how fast the contractors are going to get out there. So, but I'm sure it'll go along as soon as they're ready to start. But
Jody, do you have your hand up because you have an answer to that?
No, I have my hand up because Steve Cronin, DPW Director, has asked that you include a condition of approval. Okay, that requires the petitioner to stake out the final pole locations prior to installation and notify the engineering department.
Right. And in addition to, I guess, when this work is done, is this going to require any road closures or have any impact upon the residents? Because if it does, I want to make sure that all of the residents and the butters are notified.
Butters will be notified if that needs to happen. We always do that. And as far as the road closures go, that'll be made at the time. They'll probably, if they have to do it, they'll go down on one lane and not completely block off the road. And they'll get the proper police protection, as we always do for that. Just to back up just a little bit, you said you needed to notify the engineering department, and there was something else you said as a stipulation just before that. I didn't write it down.
Joe, do you want to repeat it?
Yes, he has asked that you stake out the final pole locations prior to installation and notify engineering so they can confirm they're in the right location. Thank you.
Yeah, okay, yeah, that's not a problem. We'll stake the pole locations prior. That makes a lot of sense. You got it.
Okay, any other questions or comments? Seeing none, is there a motion to approve? Subject to the condition from our Director of DPW?
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye. Thank you very much.
Okay, thank you. Have a good evening, everyone.
All right. We are at our consent agenda.
Make a motion to.
Oh,
close
I'm
the public
sorry.
hearing.
Thank you. Thank you, John. Is there a motion to close the public hearing?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
And all those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, John. Okay, now we're at our consent agenda, and we have on our consent agenda a request to approve the following. A special license for a casino night fundraiser. The applicant is Michael Riley on behalf of Summer Village. The location is 11 Summer Village Road, Saturday, June 18th from 6 to 10 p.m. A country fair. The applicant is Sandra Hobby on behalf of Good Pickin' Farm. The location is at Good Picking Farm, 5 Gould Road. The date is Saturday, July 9th, 2022, and the time is from 12 p.m. to 6 p.m. Is there a motion to approve the consent agenda subject to recommendations from our public safety folks?
So moved.
In a second? Okay.
Second.
All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. We are now at our 7:20 p.m. item. which is a joint meeting with the Board of Water Commissioners. And the purpose of this is to consider a request to hire attorney Hank Naughton of Napoli Skolnick PLLC to pursue PER and PFAS multi-district litigation on behalf of the town of Westford. I see the water commissioners. I see Steve Cronin. Do we have, yes, I do see Hank is attending. So we're just waiting for him to get promoted. Hugh.
Audio check.
Okay.
Yeah.
Eric, have you promoted attorney Naughton? I don't see him on my screen. Ah, there he is.
Good evening, Madam Chair,
Good evening.
members of the various boards.
So could you, I think you've been talking with the water commissioners about this, but it would be helpful if you could bring the select board up to date and let us know what you and the commissioners are proposing and asking us to do.
Sure. And can you hear me? Is audio good?
Yep.
All right. Well, thank you all.
If it's okay, I can just give a little bit of background on this real quick before Hank jumps into his presentation.
Absolutely.
Yep. So over the past year or so, we've been keeping the board apprised of developments pertaining to PFAS concentrations in our country road well. Mass DEP recently regulated per and polyfluoroalkyl substances in drinking water in the state. We've seen some increased levels in our country road well, and as a result, we've shut that well off at this point, and we've been working with our consultants, TRC, to determine the source of concentration. So it appears at this point in time, through those investigations, that we've determined that the concentrations are actually coming from the cleaning of carpets at some of our schools that feed the Westford Academy treatment plant. So that would be Westford Academy, Chrysophilia, and Robinson School. So it's not the result of the cleaning chemicals, it's actually the fire and stain resistant coatings in the carpets themselves. So what happens is they're leaching out during cleaning, and then they make their way to the treatment plant and then into the ground. We've put some policies in place here to contain all that wash water moving forward so that we can isolate the issue. But we will be needing to mitigate the source and the contamination that we have in the well at this point. So we're working to do that. We got a FinCom reserve transfer actually this week at town meeting with the Finance Committee to secure funding to put in a temporary treatment system. So in addition to that, we've been talking with Hank and his firm about the potential for this multi-district litigation. It's similar to class action, but there are some differences and some nuances that I'll let Hank explain.
Okay, with that introduction, Hank, go ahead.
Sure, Madam Chair and members of the board, thank you for having me with you this evening. And it was great having a conversation with the water commissioner several weeks ago, and it's good to have the opportunity to be with you. Let me point out that we are strategic partners in this litigation with KP Law. We had formed an alliance with them well over a year ago to work with their clients, their municipal clients that have been impacted by PFAS and AFFF. So they're aware of this meeting occurring, and they're aware of my efforts, hopefully on your behalf. As far as the litigation is concerned, and I believe your town has some previous experience with PFAS and the need to clean up, but in the early the research on PFAS and its detrimental effects on water utilities has been going on since the late 1990s. In the early 2010s, cases of water utilities that had started testing and determined that they needed to remediate started cropping up around the country, to the point where the federal judiciary, and please, if anybody wants to jump in at any point, please do. Because I realize legalese, people's eyes tend to glaze over relatively quickly. But water utilities from around the country began bringing individual lawsuits in both state and federal court against the makers of these products to try to get remediation monies to clean up their waters. And this was driven in many states like Massachusetts, where we were pretty much ahead of the curve on DEP was in pushing testing, but other states, primarily in the Northeast, but throughout the country. I'm actually sitting in Albuquerque, New Mexico right now, speaking to water utilities out here this week. It started coming back that cleanup was going to need to be done, that several hundred of these cases have arisen, and the federal judiciary, for purposes of judicial economy, decided to combine all of the cases in what's called an MDL, a multi-district litigation that is centered in Charleston, South Carolina. So all of the cases from around the country are eventually removed into that MDL. There are a couple dozen that we already have from Massachusetts that are part of that multi-district litigation. As Steve said, there is a subtle difference, but still a difference between an MDL and a class action lawsuit. This is not a class action as of this point, because although water utilities are the great majority of participants, there are airports, school districts, housing authorities that provide their own water. So there are some distinctions among the plaintiffs, of which there are about 720, and of those that my firm, Napoli Skulnick, represents about fully a third. The vision of the lawsuit is that either through settlement, and as with any lawsuit, settlement talks are hopefully, always seen as somewhat urgent, or through a judgment after trial, that a significant amount of money would be received and put into a trust fund that would allow water utilities such as yours to apply for monies to remediate, both in the short term for design, the build costs, and for long-term O&M costs. It would be similar to the Asbestos Trust Fund or the MTBE Trust Fund or the 9/11 Trust Fund, which is important to mention. Paul Napoli, my senior partner, was on the board of the 9/11. It is still on the board of the 9/11 Trust, and did help at the beginning of that trust fund. Ken Feinberg administer those funds to the families of those people who were lost. So we do have experience in this. The first case of the cases is set for trial in January of 2023. Last year, the judge picked 10 cases that he felt were 10 plaintiffs that he felt were indicative of the broader group. Those were reduced to 3 a couple of months ago, and will be reduced to 1 in August. And that case is set to go to trial in January. That does drive the urgency of getting utilities signed up and into the MDL, because at a certain point, if there is a settlement, and it likely will be an initial settlement, and there'll be tranches or tiers of settlements, that the judge will decide who participates when. And oftentimes that's going to be, part of that is going to be driven by when you join the lawsuit. So those talks, there are likely going to be, without being able to share too much, a significant amount of urgency in those talks as we get further into the year. Let me see. So that's kind of the standing and the posture of the litigation right now. We would, if Westford was to bring us on board, we would work with your water utility, work with the water commissioners to compile the evidence of the PRPs, the potentially responsible parties, of which have been mentioned, the carpet cleaning at the schools. Understand, we are not suing local entities. We would not be suing those schools. The defendants in this case are the 23 makers of these products, of these chemicals, that are the only companies that ever made and sold these products in history. So if it's in your water, one way or another, it came from these companies. Now, it might have been a product that they sold, a cleaning product that they sold to the school, but the school was unaware of the negative impacts of this product as well. So we're suing the international makers of this. So I've told you of our vision of the case. We feel we have overwhelming evidence showing that the makers had awareness going back over 50 years, maybe to the 1950s, of the deleterious health effects of their products, and did not tell anyone. A little bit about our firm, because I know you've got a big agenda tonight, and I'd like to leave some time to ask questions. I was a member of the Massachusetts House for 26 years down in the Clinton area, Clinton, Northborough, so right down 495 from you guys. So I'm local. I've practiced law locally, and I left the House to actually take a partnership with Napoli doing this work. My dad ran the Clinton Water Department for 40 years, so I often say when I'm talking about this, I feel like I'm back in the family business, trying to help water utilities provide a good product for their clients. There's no cost to sign up here. It's a strict contingent fee. I have provided a copy of a draft retainer agreement, which I'm happy to discuss. And the retainer agreement I've provided has also been reviewed and was written by your attorneys at KP Law. So they're aware of the terms of that. The experience of our firm allows us to do that, to offer these services at no cost. We have been successful. We led in the opioid litigation. We led in the MTBE litigation. We are lead counsel in Flint, Michigan. Diet drugs in the 1990s, as I said, 9/11, MTB, and asbestos. So our firm has widespread environmental experience like this that we feel puts us in a good position to represent Westford. We also have a full-time environmental scientific staff that can work with your staff to interpret your results, interpret your testing, and drive that and make it part of the complaint that we would file on your behalf. We also have a full-time communications team. I think you've got a pretty sophisticated town government. Some places don't. Some places do need assistance in drafting a narrative to answer questions going forward for for ratepayers, utility users, and constituents. And certainly, I've had many years of experience with that myself at the State House. We additionally have a full-time government affairs team. Clearly I track what goes on at the State House, but also on Capitol Hill, tracking what's going on with the infrastructure bill, monies that are coming out of DC to DEP, but also any other, we keep an eye open for any other potential grant opportunities that might be available that we can make you aware of. And we have helped several of our clients with that. What I take pride in is we have the local touch, myself, your attorneys at KP Law, but we scale up very quickly to the national level with my senior partners, especially Paul Napoli, who I should mention in large-scale cases like this, where there are many attorneys, many plaintiffs, many attorneys on the plaintiff side, many attorneys on the defendant side. The court appoints 3 attorneys for the plaintiffs and 3 attorneys for the defendants to manage the case, the procedural aspects of the case, motions, scheduling. And Paul Napoli has been appointed as co-chair of that executive committee. So he's at the table every day, both physically and virtually, speaking to the court about what's needed to get this case moving and what's needed to help our clients. So with that, I think I've encapsulated a lot in a relatively short period of time, and I'm happy to answer any questions you may have, Madam Chair, and members of the various boards.
You're on mute, Andrea.
Thank you very much. Before I ask for questions, I will just ask if the water commissioners have anything to add or to say. Sure, Hugh?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yes, we can.
Okay. The water commissioners, of course, have met several times over this whole thing with Hank and with ourselves, and we've discussed this with KP Law. And we actually run this through Jody's office on a couple of occasions. We fully approve going through this, and I think our standing here tonight is we need the selectmen's approval to engage this on the town's behalf.
Okay. Thank you. Any questions from select board members? Anita?
I had a question about the memo from Steve Cronin that's dated for June 7th in our packet, where there's a line that says, the select board should also consider pursuing this on behalf of the private drinking water well owners in Westford as separate litigants from the water department and the public supply. And I was just wondering if there's like a specific nuance that we should be aware of, or what that means.
Mm-hmm. So the nuance isn't specific to the multi-district litigation. Basically, the reason for that is that, the water department currently only services 75% of the town. We've already began to incur some costs related to remediation here. So time is certainly of the essence. The regulations are changing fairly rapidly. We don't know right now. There isn't currently a standard for private wells. Private wells are not required to be sampled either. We expect at some point that may come. That's not regulated by DEP usually. It's regulated by the Department of Public Health, so that would be sort of a separate standard. But there is the potential, we feel, that down the road there could be some private wells that may be impacted by this, and that the select board may want to consider representing those 25% of private well owners here in town as part of this litigation as well. Essentially, if you had a private well that was exceeded the level and they needed to tie into town water, there would be a cost incurred for that. And through this settlement, there would potentially be funds to cover those costs.
Okay. So other questions or comments? I don't see any, and I don't see any from the audience. So is there a motion to approve hiring Napoli Skolnick PLLC to pursue per and PFAS multi-district litigation on behalf of the town of Westford?
So moved.
Second.
Okay, Jody.
I think,
Wait, hang on 1 minute, Hugh. Jody?
Are we including on behalf of private well owners in that motion in Westford?
yes, I think the thing would be to pursue on behalf of the water enterprise in the town of Westford. The private well owners are something different.
That's why I'm asking for clarification.
A separate, a separate litigant, basically. Right, Hugh?
Correct.
Okay, so I guess the question is, are we only at this point pursuing this litigation on behalf of the water enterprise, or do we want to include private litigants at this time, or is that something that we can consider at a later date? And before your question, perhaps that's a question for the attorney. Hank?
I think what we'd like to see, Madam Chair, to keep things clean is this initial representation agreement on behalf of the town of the water enterprise, and then a separate vote and really a separate retainer agreement on behalf with the town representing the private well owners. And that's more of an administrative issue, because if and when they start testing, we would look to the town to kind of be the conduit through which their information comes through. But I think to keep it cleaner, either two separate motions this evening or just the motion this evening on behalf of the town, and then perhaps we can revisit the second motion. And I'm supportive of it. We'll work for you either way. We're supportive of it either way, whatever makes it easier for the town.
Well, I assume right now that the retainer agreement that we have is only on behalf of the water enterprise.
It is.
Okay, so, all right. John had a question, and then Scott.
Well, my question was, how would we be the representative of the individual owner? Would they not have to sign on individually, or How could we do that legally?
Well, here's the way I would envision it. And Steve, jump in here. The way we've done it with other municipalities, one or two in Massachusetts, but more in other states, because is that your role is almost an administrative role, an information gathering role. And if town, and it makes it, I'll be quite honest with you, it makes it easier for us. If the well owners who will eventually be forced to test, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about that. Very shortly, maybe this week, EPA is going to be announcing some pretty strenuous new health guidelines that will eventually be imposed upon the states and all water providers. So the way I would put it together, and Steve, if I'm stepping out of my lane here, please jump on me, is that the town, out of its kind of duty to its citizens, would offer the ability for any well owner who was tested and had to remediate to gather their evidence and give it to us, and then we could make it part of the lawsuit and try to get them money for the overall remediation project. Did I answer that clearly enough, John, or did I?
Yeah, I think so. Yes. Thank you.
Scott?
And I can put that into a memo format and get it to Steve and to Jody.
Scott?
I guess the question is, how do, as a town, knowing what we know, I would think we're kind of obligated to tell homeowners to test. If we don't, the DEP will, and they'll get a lot of questions, probably flowing through to Steve. So, opportunity, Steve and Jody, how do we prepare a townwide communication to, we're talking about, 25% of what, 8,000 households? That's a lot. That's a number of homes to be concerned about. How do we get the word to them that this is going on?
So we have been working with the Board of Health because they in town have jurisdiction over private wells. So we've kept them apprised of the results. We would work to distribute any sort of messaging through them, whether it's through a direct mailing or some other possible notification, testing requirements, whatever. Ray, we've spoken with her and given her some initial information on what we're seeing for levels and potential areas. So that would likely be the avenue that we would go.
Jody and Anita, I see you have your hand up, but I think Jody's also going to add to this.
I'm happy to have Anita go first.
Okay.
Yeah, I guess my question is for Jody and Steve and the health department, which I know is listening, but they're not on our screen right now. Just if there are any questions about the administrative lift that would be going with that in terms of the communication or trying to figure out any of the administrative duties, getting private well owners on board with this litigation, stuff like that.
I guess, I'm sorry.
No, go ahead.
Thank you. I guess my question is, I'm thinking of our perchlorate plume, which I don't know if the attorney is familiar with, but I guess I'm just wondering how this differs, because we didn't file litigation on behalf of private well owners. We filed on behalf of the town, and we took care of all the testing in those private wells, which, we continue to do now 12 years later. So I guess I'm just curious, how is this different in separating the private well owners from the town water? I don't really understand the difference.
Hank, would you like to answer that, if you can?
It's really driven by information. I mean, if you can get their information, they're tested. Like any lawsuit, at the end of the day, we're trying to get you money. You've been damaged. Your water supply has been damaged and needs to be cleaned up. And we're going to work with you to determine a figure on what that is. Now, the question becomes, are we going to work with you on just the 75% of the town that comprises the water enterprise, or the entire 100% of water users in your town? Now, if you want to develop that going forward, we can do that. And we can do that we probably can do that under the, the existing, I don't have the proposed retainer right in front of me here, but it's all driven by information. You have information right now. They don't necessarily have.
So,
It's all demonstrated, driven by what I can tell I'm not.
so let
answering
me, Jody, and then Hugh, and then I have a suggestion.
Yeah, so all I'm saying is that we never separated the people on town water from the well water when we had the perchlorate plume.
Yeah.
And so I guess I just don't understand why on PFAS we are going to treat the two groups differently. That's really my question. That's not what we did with the other contamination. So happy to work and answer your question, Anita. Happy to work administratively on notification. But if it sounds like the DEP is coming out with new standards and people are going to have to test, and we already have a PFAS problem, I don't know why we would tell private well owners they're not included.
Okay, Hugh?
Policy
Yes,
decision.
my history, of course, as Jody knows, goes all the way back to perchlorate and making us, and that was really a different, almost a single source type issue. From about a year ago, this came up in serious at commission meetings, and we have started on the Water Commission through Mark's help with what is probably going to become a very complex spreadsheet of costs and expenses. So we're tracking and have been tracking for almost a year or maybe better the costs that we're involved. So the Board of Health would probably have to begin tracking the costs of the private well owners or whoever, if I'm assuming the Board of Health would administer that. But that's about it.
So here's my suggestion for tonight, is that we have a retainer agreement with respect to representing the water enterprise. I would, my suggestion is that, we look at that, consider whether we approve or not approve that, and that meanwhile, we work with both, between Jody, the water commissioners, Steve, and Hank, work together to figure out whether or not the retainer agreement we have will cover our private well owners, if we need a separate retainer agreement, or how we ensure that our private well owners are informed of this and are going to have access to remediation and remedies if their wells start testing positive. So we can at least start the process tonight and then come back to this either at our next meeting and either amend it or add to it. So that would be my suggestion, at least for tonight. And then we can have, Jody, a better understanding of whether we need to have separate a separate retainer or whether we can do what we did with perchlorate. So, Hugh,
Yeah,
one last comment and then
just about back the water commissioners had discussed that, and I believe maybe just with a show of hands of the other water commissioners, we did agree that we'd prefer to have two separate agreements, one with the town and one with the water enterprise only.
Okay, thank you. All right, so I believe that there was a motion on the floor made and seconded that the town of Westford enter into the retainer agreement for representation in the PFAS multi-district litigation on behalf of the water enterprise. So with that motion and second, all those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. All right, and we will bring this back for further discussion, at our future meeting, not too far in the distance, because we do recognize what we heard from you, Hank, is that time is of the essence. Thank you very much for joining us tonight. Thank you to the water commissioners. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Look forward to working with you.
Bye. Okay, we are at Old and new business. We have a request to approve and sign bonds and bond anticipation notes for the following projects. 10-year tax exempt bonds for roadway improvements in the amount of $494,000. Fire truck in the amount of $777,400. A 20-year tax exempt bonds for Kersey Circle water mains in the amount of $1,331,200, and Westford Academy Amenities Building in the amount of $1,333,900. We rolling bands for the school building access controls in the amount of $567,400. Town Farm Road water tank in the amount of $1,188,000, and Oak Hill Road infrastructure improvements in the amount of $3,960,000, and a new ban for Pond Brook Culvert in the amount of $300,000. Christine, did I get all of that correct?
Good job.
All right. Does anybody have any questions? All right. Christine provided us with a motion. If somebody could read that motion, because I believe that motion is consistent with what bond counsel needs us to do. Tom?
All right, here goes.
Okay.
I move to approve the vote prepared by bond counsel, which is in the selectmen's packet, should be the select board's packet, and available online in connection with the town's bond issue dated June 21st, 2022, and note issue dated June 21st, 2022.
Good. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Thanks, Christine.
All right, thank you.
All right. We are now at our 7:55 p.m. item, which is, oh, sorry, I forgot something. I'm sorry, I forgot 2, 3, and 4. I'm thinking, I'm thinking about Anita's. Anyway, we have a
Very nice.
we have a request from State Representative Jim Arciero to approve revised House Bill number 4666, an act authorizing the town of Westford to grant one additional license for the sale of all alcohol beverages to be exercised by Fenue Inc., doing business as Empire Wine and Spirits, located at 175 Littleton Road. And I believe that, is there a motion to approve the revised bill? And I believe that the only revisions were with respect to a time limitation on the license, right, Jody? Jody's nodding her head yes for anybody who's listening and can't see. All right. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor, Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. We have a request from the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee to appoint Nick Schott as a full member for a term expiring on June 30th, 2023. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. And last, we have a request to approve the 2022 annual reappointments for committee and board members as listed in our meeting packets tonight. Is there a motion to approve?
So moved.
Second.
Thank you. All those in favor, Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, now we're at our 7:55 p.m. item, which is a continuation of the ARPA funding request and to determine allocations. So Jody and Dan are joining us. Hello, Dan.
Hello.
Which one of you is starting off with just reviewing the projects approved real quick, the funding spent and the funding available to date. Is that you, Dan?
Yeah, I can give a quick overview on that. So,
Okay.
so originally we received just over 3.7 million last June. So far to date, we've allocated $3,332,000 on 42 different projects. The projects listed on the agenda tonight total just over $788,000. However, we only have $376,000 left at this point. We are expecting the second 3.7 million somewhat soon, possibly this month. However, we cannot allocate those funds until we have them in the bank.
Okay, thanks. Jody, do you want to walk us through the new requests?
Yes, I just texted Eric to please pull up the spreadsheet.
Okay, and ask, and here it comes.
Okay, so that's not it. This is the, I'm
This is the
looking,
agenda.
yeah, I'm looking for the spreadsheet, Eric, with the yellow color, please. We could make that bigger, that would be great. Okay, so we did highlight in yellow. And so the first item, I don't know if you want me to just go through them all or if you want to stop with each one. How do you want to handle this, Andrea?
I guess, why don't we run through them quickly?
Okay.
I know that we have folks who want to speak to this. Why don't we just run through them quickly, Jody, and then we can go back to them, okay?
Okay, so the first one is Project 3. This is the strategic planning retreat that the select board have asked to hold. And the cost would be $62.80 beyond what you have in the budget. The next one, actually the next two are assessments for town and school safety security cameras and additional town and school emergency training. We do not have numbers right now, but that is a project that we are working on. Number 6 is in light of the gas prices that continue to go up. Dan and I thought that we should put in a placeholder for what we're looking at, or at least projecting at this point. So not that we need it all now, but we put in that perhaps 191,270 might help unless gas prices come down through the next fiscal year. Number 7 is for phone system upgrades to comply with 911 requirements. These are changes in the regulations that occurred after we entered a contract. The request is for $67,000. It's so that on town municipal phones, when you call 911, all the information comes up, what building you're in, what room you're in, that sort of thing. We can go to Capitol if the board chooses to have us move forward that way. Number 11 is the police vehicle. You did appropriate $7,500 to supplement the original appropriation actually, I'm sorry, you appropriated $57,895 for the police to buy an electric cruiser. The grant is not eligible on any vehicle over $50,000. So Mark is either asking you, do you want to supplement with $7,500 to get that electric vehicle, or would you prefer him to buy a hybrid or turn back the funding you already gave him? So moving right along, we'll move down to number 23. This is a priority for the town as the strategic planning, if you decide to move forward, because I need to book that. But this is the Blanchard Middle School wastewater treatment plant tank rehabilitation. We did have an appropriation. We went out to bid and we are short $177,500. We would like to get moving on that project this summer. So
Hey, Jody, can I interrupt you for a minute? Did you miss one? Did you miss, what number is that?
20.
20, I think, 20 from the schools.
Oh, yep, I'm sorry, that is not highlighted on my sheet, but that is I'm
On
not
our
sure
screen
why.
it is.
Yeah, I'm not sure why, but anyway, so yes, that is a new request. Thank you for catching that. Promoting equitable learning to recover from the pandemic. And you can see the language in there, I think, what they're looking for, the schools, and it's $14,000. Okay, so moving along, the next one I have highlighted is 28, project number 28.
Wait, you missed one again, 24.
Okay, I'm not really sure. Okay, never mind. That one is highlighted. Sorry about that. So this is for employee training on the proper handling of resident hoarding cases. This is a new request from the Health Department and the COA. They're looking for 4,500. Now, 28. This is from the Health Department and the COA again. They're asking you to supplement their senior dental program for uninsured residents, and they're looking for $20,000 for that purpose. 29 is a request from the Health Department to conduct a community health assessment and develop a community improvement plan for the health assessment, and that is 200,000 that they're seeking for that purpose. The next one, we are asking you to hold on. This is number 30. This was the COA asking for an additional full-time van driver to start a new transportation route, but she has asked me to hold off on that request tonight. The next three, 31, 32, 33, are all WCAT requests related to them and their taping of our meetings at Millennium Building, at the Groton Road Facility, Town Hall, and they're also looking for an audio technical single ear broadcast headset. So those amounts respectively are 2014, 8,834 and 1316. And then finally, the last two, number 35 and 36, came from the Clean Energy and Sustainability Committee, and they do not have a cost they're looking for, but they're looking for help with website design and to get their committee's work out there to the public, and consulting services to assist with developing net zero building standards in the town.
Okay, thank you. Okay, so at least from what you stated, it seems to be, Jody, that you said, at least from your perspective, the two priorities, the high priorities tonight are, we need to let you know about the strategic planning retreat. So if we're going to have it, you can book it. And secondly, the Blanchard wastewater treatment plant, right?
Yes, and you might want to consider a little bit towards gasoline too.
And gasoline, yes.
But right, thank you.
Okay. So do we want to talk about those three first, folks, or do you want to go through okay, let Tom put a thumbs up, so as did John. So let's talk about those three first. So let's talk about the strategic planning retreat, which we've asked for $6,280 to cover, to be held September 8th. Is that the date? Okay, September 8th. Scott?
Well, I mean, we asked Jody to plan it and put it together, so we have to pay for it. So I would say this is an easy one. I would make a motion to approve.
Second.
Any further comments or questions? All right, seeing none. All those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, let's do wastewater treatment plant first, which is, we're looking at for $177,500. Again, discussion. Seems to me we have to do this.
Yeah.
Is there a motion then?
So moved.
Second.
Okay. Again, all those in favor, Scott?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Dan, now that we have just spent 177.5 and 62.80. So please update us, as I know you can quickly. How much do we have left?
$193,055.
I'm sorry, say it again.
193,055.
Okay. Do we want to allocate something for gasoline? Tom?
Thanks, Andrea. So it seems like we can, is it possible, I guess, budgetarily, Dan and Jody, just to react to what happens? I mean, we will have to backfill this. Clearly, the prices are going to be higher, but we don't know what's going to happen in the future. So I don't want to allocate a huge lump sum for the whole year. It seems like we just either want to do nothing and then approve as we need, or do something for, say, a quarter ahead. That's a question. It didn't sound like one. So I guess either Dan or Jody, can we either just react to what happens and approve small amounts as we go, or do we really need to approve, say, for the next quarter?
You know, we can do that if you want. Obviously, we're not supposed to overspend budgets, so we need to keep a careful watch on it, as long as you know it's out there, and maybe keep something in reserve. If you'd rather us report as we move forward, we can do so.
Scott and then John.
Yeah, I think it's pretty rational to assume that prices aren't going to retreat until after Labor Day. That's typically what happens with gasoline prices, and this is sort of compounded by other global and domestic events. So I guess if you took the amount that you had, that's for an annual amount, correct? So if you took that amount divided by 3 to get a quarter, would that suffice to get us through the next 3 months, and we could reassess when we get more money in from ARPA?
Yes, that sounds like a good plan.
John, you had your hand up?
Yeah, I was just asking about that same thing, see how much we could do it partially, and then see what our expense rate, what actually happens, and then supplement. I don't think we could do it all at once.
So if I don't know, if you divide by 3,
Divide by 4, right? For 4 quarters.
Yeah.
So I can make a motion, Andrea, to recommend approval of 50,000, which is about a quarter.
My quick math was 50,000. Is there a second?
Second.
Okay.
All those in favor? Tom?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Aye. So that means we have $143,055 left. How about that, Dan?
Very good.
I guess I will just say from my concern, while we expect the next funding round of ARPA to come in within the next month or so, if it is a bit longer, I guess I would like not to spend all of it tonight in case we need some additional funds. I mean, there are some things on there, for instance, the assessment of town and school security camera systems, and the town and school emergency scenario training that I know Tom and Scott are working on and are also working on with our police department. So, if ultimately we find out what those figures are and we may or may not need them, I guess I would like to hold some funds in reserve, as well as for a couple of other things. I'm not sure if there's anything else here that requires immediate funding. I'm certainly, we can talk about some of those if folks think that is appropriate. I guess the one other one we should talk about is the police vehicle, and whether we want to appropriate $7,500 so that the police department can buy an EV, or whether we want to tell the police department to go buy a hybrid, or whether we want the money back. So I think that's probably the other one we need to talk about tonight. Scott?
That's one reason why I have a hand up, was to say that, if we needed to get that, knowing the wait times to get a cruiser, you probably want to decide that question tonight. And my instinct would be to go for the electric, because I think it is a signature. Yeah, it's a statement. I think that if we can have a electric police cruiser, you can have any car on electric. Just to back up, just so that the town knows, in the wake of the Uvalde school shooting, Tom and I met with the police chief and members of our school department administration to talk about, just the learnings. And one obvious one had been that the videos in that school did not give a clear picture of the room to allow the police to know exactly where the individual was or the victims were. So we've asked our SRO to work with the school department to make sure we have the right cameras in the right spots. We may or may not need to add some views, for real time. And then secondly, there's been some discussion about what did the incident commander know or not know from 911 calls coming in. So the drills would help us determine, can we get communications that we need to have, to the people that need to have it. So don't cost yet, but those I think are two things that we learned that we just got to just double check on, make sure that we're as safe as we can be. With that, I make a motion to approve the $7,500 to go for full electric police cruiser.
Okay, before we go to that motion, Anita, you have your hand up, and so let me just recognize Anita first, and then John, okay?
Thanks. Yeah, I just had a question actually so I would support that motion, but I just want to confirm that that's the preferred car over the hybrid before we make that decision.
I believe that Police Chief Mark Chambers is with us tonight, so Anita, we can direct your question to Chief Chambers.
Good evening, everyone. Can you hear me okay?
We can.
Excellent. So originally when we made this request, the way we really would have liked to have gone was with the electric cruiser. And just prior to this meeting, I actually learned that Ford is recalling 49,000 of their Mustang Mach-E's. So they continue to have problems. I also spoke with the main distributor that we would have been purchasing the electric vehicle from. And it doesn't look like we'd be able to get our hands on one for approximately 10 to 12 months. So with rising gas prices and everything else going on with our budget, if ARPA funding is a concern, the hybrid electric is $5,000 less than what the original appropriation was. We can get our hands on it much sooner. We will realize a benefit quicker. And as we move forward and the availability of the electric vehicles maybe comes back, maybe we can revisit the fully electric. But I think at this point, the preference, and I'm sorry to throw that on you at this point, it's kind of a blindside, but new information came up as within the past couple hours. But I would prefer actually the hybrid electric vehicle at this point, just to help us mitigate some of the costs that we're going to be experiencing with the fuel.
Thank you, Chief. Appreciate and recognize it's new information, but appreciate you bringing it to our attention tonight. John.
Yeah, I was in favor of the hybrid anyway, because that would give us a fourth hybrid, and you wouldn't have just one electric vehicle sitting out there for maintenance. We'd have 4 hybrids. And I think that's the best way to go do that now. And then we can look at the electrical down the line.
Other comments or questions? Okay, Scott, you had made a motion.
I guess we'll change that to what the police chief wants. Sorry, I thought I was doing that. So yeah, I'll change that to match what Mark says advised, which would be the hybrid.
Okay. All right. All those in favor? John?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. And does that mean, Dan and Jody, is there money then coming back into the ARPA funds because we aren't spending the total amount that we approved for the electric? Okay. All right. Tom and then Anita.
Well, Andrew, I'm not sure exactly where we're going, but I just, if we're going to move from here and come back to the other items a little bit later, I just want to recognize our colleagues from the Board of Health that are out there tonight talking about the community health assessment. And I think that's a really interesting and important thing to do. I guess we're not going to talk about tonight, but I do have some feedback about things that I think would really help us to focus. And so I'll just follow up with them offline, but appreciate them being here.
Right, and obviously we don't have funding to fund those tonight,
Right.
so there, we can bring, Tom, we will bring it back. We can talk about it. We can talk about it offline. There are certainly, I think, some questions that folks have, and that I have particular about some of the requests, but we can get to them in advance of when we bring it back for our next ARPA discussion. Anita, did you have your hand up?
I did. I mean, you kind of addressed it because I have questions for the Board of Health requests and also the WestfordCAT requests. But if we're going to wait till later, then I can email those questions or whatever. Yeah.
I think that makes sense. John, do you still have your hand up or did you just forget to take it down?
I think I just forgot to take it down.
Okay.
I'm fine.
So I think at this point, just so everybody knows, I mean, we've got about a little over $143,000 left in our ARPA account. We're going to leave that in the account for now, just as a contingency in case there is anything. Actually, it's probably a little more than 143 because we're getting a little bit back from the police vehicle. So give or take a couple of thousand. We're going to leave it in the account now as a contingency in case anything of an emergent basis comes up between now and the time that we get our second round of ARPA funding. We will certainly let everybody know when the second round of ARPA funding comes in, and then we will regroup all of the requests that we have received to date. And I think probably start a new spreadsheet would, I think, probably make the most sense as we go through, start with the second round and start going through some of these projects again. So thank you for all being here tonight, and thank you for all of your suggestions. And as I said, once we have our second round of ARPA funding, we will let you all know. So, all right. Board reports and updates. I don't see any. Tom, yes, Tom has a board report.
Very briefly, I may have addressed this up at the top, but WestfordCAT's annual meeting has been moved to June 30th. And so if you're planning to join us for the WestfordCAT annual meeting, June 30th, more information on the website.
Thank you. Okay, town manager's report. Jody.
Yes, thank you. So I did put the state of the town in your packet. I will not share that, verbally with you tonight, but it is available on our website. So please tune in and take a look at it. And thank you for your edits, Andrea. That was very helpful. Secondly, I'm going to request approval of some contracts. So Amoresco, which was approved at town meeting, was for the Energy Management Services Agreement for the Cameron Senior Center HVAC replacement in the amount of $1.6 million. So I've been working with Dan Smith and their attorney and our attorney. We are very, very close, but we were not able to complete it. We just got a couple of little items to finish up. So if you could vote that contingent upon us reaching agreement on the last couple of little items, that would be great. And Dan is there at the bottom too.
So Jody, why don't we take that one separpe from the other? Since if we do vote to approve, it's going to have a condition on it.
Yes.
So Tom?
I guess just Jody, how material are the remaining elements? Can you give us just a sense of how small these details are?
There's just a couple of little items that our attorney still is looking for a word here or there, and their attorney's looking for a word here or there. We're very close, but unfortunately our attorney took the day off today, so I didn't have time to just button it up with him. So we're very close.
So nothing, I'm sorry, Andrew, nothing that'll affect scope or money?
No.
Okay, thanks.
Wordsmithing, right.
You know, us attorneys, you know, we have to wordsmith everything. John?
So if I get you right, the issue is with terms and conditions versus the scope of the work?
Yes, it's not the scope of the work. It's just a couple of words that we are hammering out. We're very, very close. I think I could have gotten us there if our attorney wasn't off today, but yeah, we're very close. It's not material. I just want to make sure we're all comfortable. So, and I won't sign it if we're not. So if you vote contingent upon that, then we'll see if we can't get this hammered out tomorrow.
Go ahead, Tom.
I was going to say, with that understanding, I can make a motion to approve subject to town manager's approval of final changes.
How about town council and town manager?
Town council and town manager, subject to town council and town manager final approval of changes.
Thanks. Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Tom?
Aye.
Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Okay. Go ahead.
Moving on, I have a contract with the Fire Training Structures LLC for purchase of fire training equipment, the amount of $283,971, which was approved at town meeting and is requested by the fire department. I'm going to hold on the next one, number 3, which is the mobile behavioral health clinician. We're still working out some details, and Jennifer agreed that we need to hold off until your next meeting on that one. And then Aslan Company for the Blanchard Water Treatment Plant Facility upgrades and painting project in the amount of $396,000. Purchase orders with FG Sullivan Drilling Company for repairs identified during cleaning and redevelopment of the Howard Road and Nutting Road wells in the amount of $15,452. And Motorola Solutions for radio equipment at the new fire, or on the new fire engine in the amount of $14,140.96. And Motorola Solutions for radio equipment for the new ambulance in the amount of $14,740.96.
Is there a motion to approve?
So move.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor, Anita?
Aye.
Scott?
Aye.
John?
Aye.
Tom?
Aye.
Aye. Is there a motion to waive reading of correspondence?
So moved.
Second.
Is there a second? Thank you. All those in favor, just raise your hands. All right. And is there a motion to adjourn?
So move.
Second.
All those in favor? And we are adjourned. Thank you,
Thank you.
everyone.
Yeah. Be safe, everybody.
Everybody be
Good night,
safe.
everyone.
Be safe.